Hello guys, welcome to this video. You don't really see me spawn on the black block, but this is a different video. I'm going to be reading a story that I created myself. If you just want something to hear or like something to look at, you are at the right video. So this is called a horror series of a gamer's creepy story. And the real title of it is called, let me turn the page here. It's called The Minecraft Mysteries of the Dark Man. So you guys, whenever you're ready, just grab something to draw on or whatever you want. So yeah, just be prepared, and yeah, I'll start reading. So I just need to turn up. At the right angle. Now, here I will start reading in 3, 2, 1. So, the chapters are 1, I'm out of here, Dark Man, Horror Cave, Scream, Deep in the Tunnel, Far From Home, and The Creepiest Thing. So I'm gonna start reading. Chapter 1, I'm out of here. Today I turned 20. So, then you can get out of this village. I ran and said, "Yeah," Steve said, "I'm out of here." I went by the oak tree and hit it so hard, it came crashing down on me, but my friend Steve caught the tree just in time. Since he's my very great friend to me, I asked him if he wanted to come with me on my adventure, and he was so happy. He ran, and for some reason, he ran and gathered all the supplies for a big house and some fancy decorations. Then I looked around and saw half of the forest cut and a very big hole with a lot of torches was inside. No, not torches was inside it, and I laughed softly. So we walked to the sun and started to build the big house. It took a long time to build it, but we still got finished. It was pitch black at night, and I was already in bed, and I saw some kind of fire on the tree, and right behind the fire was a pitch black shadow that looked at me and had a red face, and it was holding some kind of fire tool. Then he glitched and teleported away. But I had a old camera and snapped a picture of him. Yes, yes, Steve whispered softly. Then he ran to Jack to go tell him. I snapped a picture of his weird creature. Chapter 2, Dark Man 666. Jack said, "Wow, I've seen that thing before." "What?" said Steve. "Yes, I did. One time I went to go mine for iron so I could make a bucket for my farm. And when I was mining, a black shadow came and broke my pickaxe. And I never came to that cave again," said Jack. "But still to this day I've been on the lookout for him since," said Jack. "Wow, we better go mining in that cave so we can see him in real life," said Steve. "I don't think that's a good idea," said Jack. "It's either coming or not," said Steve. I ran to the cave, and Jack was rushing around to find his gear and to go caving with Steve. Finally, Jack got all of his gear and ran to Steve and it looked like he was fighting something pitch black. Jack ran as fast as his legs could go, and he was terrified. Jack ran up to Steve and said, "No!" said Jack. "Ah, you scared me," said Steve. "Sorry," said Jack. What were you fighting?" asked Jack. "I was fighting a dang Enderman. They're so annoying," said Steve. "Yeah, Steve and Jack went to the cave and went deep into the ground just to go find the creature, but they will mine some ores on the way. Steve and Jack went deeper and deeper into the ground, and Jack saw something pitch black. "Jack, behind you!" As soon as Jack turned around, he swung his sword and hit the black mysterious thing. His face turned into a monstrous face, and it took Jack to the shadows. But then Steve ran out of time, and he was lost in the cave. And there he was, and there was no sight. And Steve got caught too, but he only got caught on a rock. Chapter 3: Horror Cave. Steve ran to pick up his pickaxe, and right before he got it, the dark man screamed and broke his pickaxe. Steve ran as fast as he could, but he saw the dark man flying right behind him, and now his face started. Sorry guys, I need to change something. Okay, where was I? As fast as he could, but he saw the dark man flying right behind him, and now his face started to glow, and all you could see is his red face, and his body was pitch black too. If Steve went in front of the creature, he will get screamed and blinded. Then he will pass out. So Steve did not know all about the dark man, but he knew one thing. If you see his face, he could... Wait, if I see his face, he could... Be careful, and don't you let him see you. Steve grabbed his extra wood from the house and made a crafting table and made a pickaxe and sword too. Just then he heard a scream in the distance, and he was terrified. Then he heard some blocks breaking beside him, behind him, under him, and on top of him. Then 5 faces stared at him. Then one of them screamed and took his arm out of the hole and grabbed Steve's hand and pulled him into the hole. Before they could get Steve, he took out his sword and sliced one of their arms off. But the face screamed, and all the other faces grabbed Steve and pulled him apart. But since he was in Minecraft, he respawned back at his house and Jack's house. He walked to the chest and looked inside and found a wooden pickaxe, 2 pieces of cooked meat. Steve gathered the stuff and went to the cave, and there was another rock. He tripped on it, and he fell down the stairs. "Ow!" yelled Steve. Steve got up from his injury and ate some cooked meat and regenerated to full health. Steve was afraid he couldn't find Jack, but he promised he'd find him whenever he is lost. But Steve couldn't go down to the cave with 1 piece of cooked meat and a wooden pickaxe, so Steve went back to his house to go to sleep. But when it was morning, Steve went toward an oak tree, and this time he went to hit the tree. It fell down, but Steve dodged it. He made a crafting table and crafted a leather armor, a cobblestone sword, and he was off to the dark cave. And he went down to where he had died, and the red faces were gone. So Steve walked out, but he saw a tunnel in the room. So Steve went to look at the tunnel, and it went down and down and down. Steve heard a scream right next to Steve. Steve looked back behind his shoulder, and there he was, standing right there behind him. So Steve ran toward the shadow and blew a very big blow on the shadow. Started to duplicate into more shadows. And the shadows started to duplicate into more shadows. Chapter 4, Deep in the Tunnel. The shadows walked towards Steve and screamed, but he was tumbling down the tunnel. Then he saw the dark man stretching his arms to grab me, but I went out of his sight, but he knowed where I am, anytime, anywhere. Finally, I reached the end of the tunnel and found this weird dark room, and I heard Jack screaming through a wooden door, "Help!" I ran to the door, but the shadow confronted me and blocked the door. He screamed at me, and I tried to hit him, but I passed out. Then I woke up in a room, and the dark man was burning something around me. Chapter 5, Far from Home. But then the dark man disappeared into thin air, and I noticed the room I was in my house. The house was burning into crisp, and I was going to turn into crisp poodoo. Ah! Steve had to think of something fast, but it was too late. Steve started to set on fire. He burned and burned and burned. Till the past moment, Steve respawned back at the castle where he started. Steve remembered where the cave was, but he was scared. So first Steve went to his old storage room and got some stuff he needed to defend himself. He gathered a full set of leather armor, an iron sword, and 10 pieces of cooked beef. So then Steve set toward the cave, and he remembered that what he seen inside the dark cave. So Steve traveled toward the house that used to belong to Jack, but now it was nothing. Then Steve heard a super loud screech, and it echoed again and again and again. After a little while, it grew fainter and fainter until it stopped. "Thank goodness," said Steve. Then he remembered that screaming came from the cave that Jack was in. Steve started running toward the tunnel that Jack was in, so he wanted to save him. But he knew that the shadow would appear and probably make him pass out and break his bed, and he would die for good, so he will have to start a new server. So Steve went down to the cave, but something was strange. The cave came to the end, to an end, a super bloody end. Organs were all over the floor and a bunch of other bloody stuff. Then Steve heard a loud scream coming from behind him and followed with some kind of flesh noise. Then when he looked behind him, he saw the longest tunnel he ever seen. And the dark man was there holding Jack's hand and holding a sword, and it was Jack's blade the dark man was holding. So yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. This is part 1, and there will be 3 parts. So if I get 10 likes on this video, I will start reading the second part. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe, turn the notifications on, and goodbye.